Okay, hi everyone. Coach Chris from GPC Ballarat with a bit of a course preview of Ironman Australia and Ironman Australia 70.3, which of course both occur in Port Macquarie. Recording this about a month before this year's event. Now, this is one that I've done a number of times. Haven't actually ever done the 70.3, but this was my very first Ironman that I've done. And I've been back for a total of 3 times and very, very excited to get back there again this year. It's Look, everyone asks me, yeah, what's your favorite? And depending on which time of the year and which one I'm training for, I would tend to say the one that I'm leading up to. But this one does actually hold a little bit of a special spot for me because one, it's my first one that I did. And two, the other reason is that there's actually quite a number of people from where I live, just out of Ballarat, who travel up to race this. So there's actually quite a lot of familiar faces up at this one. It's the closest one to where we live in Victoria. So a lot of people actually drive. You can fly in, but a lot of people do that drive up. So it's a little bit more accessible for us here in the southern states. So what I thought I might do today is I'll just jump in and we'll go through. And as you can see there, you've got Regan crossing the line last year. So Regan is we'll call her a Ballarat local. See her very frequently in the pool here in Ballarat. In fact, I swam with her this morning and wished her luck as she headed off to Texas this afternoon, probably on the plane right now, actually. So we're going to have a look at the course. Now, for those of you who may have done this before, if it's been a number of years, um, the course has actually changed. And I think this is the third year now. I think 2022 was 23, 24. It might have been 2023 was the first time that they changed. So yeah, this would be year number 3 where they have slightly altered the bike course. And what they've done is they've split the 70.3 and the full distance Ironman bike courses. So you're on completely separate courses. The only bit of road that you share is pretty much the bit in and out of transition, and then everything else is completely separate. Now, personal preference, I actually think it's for the better. A lot of people had varying opinions when they first brought it out. I love the full distance Ironman course out there. I think it's a much more challenging course. But in saying that, the 70.3 is no easy feat, which we'll go over. So what we're going to do is we're going to we'll go through each one first. So we'll go swim, bike, run, and it's really around the bike where I'll start to separate it out a little bit. So if we go into here, we'll go into our, sorry, just there, course overview, sorry. So we're on the Ironman full distance website here at the moment. So just having a look down. So, of course, the swim is 3.8 kilometers. It is a river swim. It is also salt water. So, you get the full benefit of the salt water, but you get none of the negative of waves. So it's generally speaking a very, very calm and flat course. There is a unique feature with the full distance is that you actually get out of the water a little over half, or just about halfway along, just shy of that. You get out and go over a break wall, swim a little bit more, come back, and then go cross over it again. So it's not like an Aussie exit, but it's about as close as you get in to an Aussie exit. It's just that it's part of the course, and you get out and have to jump over it. So starting down at the boat ramp, you head out and you basically head left. There you can see on the video there, or on the picture there, there's actually a number of boats that are moored. So this is something you do need to be aware of. Very good idea is to actually do a bit of a sighting swim in the days leading up to, just to get an idea of what that's like. Sometimes the boats can be helpful for sighting. Sometimes it can be a little bit tricky and you can sort of feel like you're sort of ducking and weaving in between them. There are, of course, no boats allowed on the river in terms of actively moving along, except for water safety on race day, but there will be boats anchored and moored in the river. So we head out and go left. It's a rolling start. We run down a boat ramp. So you're very, very quickly into the water. It doesn't take long for it to get deep. You're only sort of 2 or 3 meters and suddenly you're swimming. And it is a clockwise loop. We head left, go upriver, and then turn left and go underneath the big bridge over the break wall, which is this section over here. Swim a little bit further up, turn right, short right, swim, and then right again back over the break wall. Now, there is something, depending on the weather at the time and the water temperatures and everything else, you can find that between one side of the break wall to the other, there can be quite a big temperature differential. So just be aware of that. It might be a lot warmer on the initial side. And then when you jump in, it can be actually a bit cooler. I know that was a bit of a shock to my system the very first time I did this. And I've had it the other way as well, where it's been cooler in the water that you start in and warmer on the other side of the break wall. So, it can come as a little bit of a shock. So just be prepared for that. What they do is you can actually walk along. So if you're going for a bit of a pre-race orientation walk, you can actually park just near the bridge here, and there's actually a path that goes all the way along there, and you can walk out and over the break wall. There is actually essentially a walking path across there. They'll have scaffolding set up, so there'll be two sets of scaffolding, which are steps. They carpet them, and up and over, and you've got grab rails. They'll also have helpers there to help you out of the water and also to sort of watch you get into the water. So take your time. You've swum for a fair bit. You're going to be horizontal, obviously. Suddenly becoming upright, you're only up and over. The heart rate spikes, and you can feel a bit gassed when you're coming over. So take your time. And take it easy, I guess, and be careful that you don't slip over and sort of do yourself a little bit of damage. So we've gone over the break wall, short, a right-hand turn towards the end there, another short right. It's only about 50 or 60 meters, that bit there, and then you're back down and you're over. And then basically we just follow ourselves all the way back. Now, something that I had forgotten about when I last did this was that I just made the assumption, because I didn't do my proper course recon, and that's my own fault, is that I thought we got to the finish line and just simply turned right and up the other side of the boat ramp. That's not the case, and it can be a little bit disconcerting, because by about this time, you're probably thinking, I need to get out of the water, I've had enough. But you actually swim past a fair way, another short right-hand turn, and then you come back. So that can be something that catches a few people out. Now, many years ago, your starting point actually used to be down here. There's a car park there, and you used to swim down. You would still get out at the same, get out at roughly at the same spot and run across to transition. But they've changed the start now to this boat ramp up here, and there will be orientation swims in the days leading up to. That'll be in the athlete guide as well. So just be aware you do swim past the finish, the swim exit a fair way, and then you have to loop back. Now, depending on the tide and the time of the day, generally speaking, there won't be too much current. But if you're going to get any current, it's probably going to be an outgoing tide, which means this last little section here is going to be just a little bit tougher, just to make things a bit spicy for the end of a 3.8K swim. All right. It does also mean, though, that sort of pretty much when you turn right at this point here, if there's any current at all, then you've actually got it with you. But just remember, you might have to be swimming back into it. The last time I did it, it wasn't too bad. However, it was definitely noticeable there. All right. If we go to the 70.3 swim course, it is essentially the same thing, just shorter, naturally enough. I'll scroll down, wait for it to load. You start in the same spot. So still starting on the same boat ramp. We actually start earlier than the full distance. It's quite a bit earlier. And basically what we do is, instead of turning right to go underneath the bridge and then over the breakwater, which is up in here, we go roughly half the distance up. We do a right-hand turn and we come back down, and we're just repeating the bottom bit of the full distance. Okay. Everything down the bottom here is exactly the same for the full and the 70.3. There's no change. It's just the only difference for us is we turn right before we go under the bridge, or actually before we even turn left to go under the bridge. We do a right-hand turn and come back. They'll have the big sight buoys there, okay? It's the only difference. Okay, so now for the bike course. So I'm going to focus on 70.3 just because we're on here. And once I find the right one. Sorry, there we go. Oh, sorry, we'll come to the transition. Sorry. All right. So transition for Port Mac is all in the same area. They got a map on here? I don't think they do. It's a little bit of a run from the swim. Here we are. Go to this one. Open this one up. It's a little bit of a run. There will be an overpass for you to run up and over. So you'll actually run over the run course. So if we have a look here, we've got our swim start here. Swim start is sort of tucked up in there. So when you exit out. So there's two boat ramps at the swim start. So the left-hand boat ramp is the one that you start in, and you'll run down that one, and then the exit is as you're looking at it, it's the right-hand boat ramp, and you'll run up it. They do carpet it. It is a well-used boat ramp, so it's generally pretty clean. Usually a pretty grip and everything, but just be careful because it is concrete. It is underwater. They do put carpet down, but you do get a bit of algae and the like. So just be mindful when you get out. Now you do have a short run up through the car park where the green line there cuts over the run course. There is an overpass, so you'll run up and over and down, and then you'll run straight into transition. Okay. Now, Ironman will have the traditional big tent that you do your transition in. 70.3, you'll be set up, at your bike. Okay, but essentially, you're all in the one big area, which is Westport Park. Okay. Let me go back. So then we go to our bike. And this is where things change, as I mentioned before. So two separate courses. The 70.3, which is the one we're looking at here, sticks to what many people might refer to as the old course. But it's not the full old course. Okay. So the full old course was 45 Ks out. You went all the way out to Dunbogan. And then you would loop back, and that was basically a 90-kilometre loop, and you do that twice for the full distance. It's now obviously shorter. It's a 45K loop, and you do that twice. So we head out a little over 20 odd Ks, come back 20 odd Ks, and we do that twice. Okay. So what happens is we exit out of transition. I'll zoom in on Port Macquarie here, give you an idea, just to sort of show you. Swim start is here. Transition is in Westport Park here. So you run in and around into here. And just so you're aware, follow my mouse all the way over. This is where the finish line area is. It's all the way over here. Okay. But transition is always here. So we exit out and we're going to go left straight away. Take a hard left. Okay. Now, what happens is we ride through town. This bit of Clarence Street, particularly the second half, is uphill. Okay. Quite a fast downhill. There are some speed humps that they, again, put carpet over because they're quite corrugated. They put carpet over it. It is quite a fast descent coming down from particularly this corner here and into town, with a sharp left at the bottom there with some speed humps through. So just be mindful of that when we come back. But it is an uphill, so this wakes the legs up well and truly. All right. And then we head out of town. And from about this point onwards, it's what we would call undulating. Okay. There's periods here where it's up. And then a little bit like this little section here is more of either flat or a bit down. And then you start climbing up again, up Pacific Drive. And you follow the coast for a little bit. Okay. Again, you're going up and you're going down. It is undulating. It's not flat at all. Now we head out Pacific Drive and we take a sharp left. Okay. And we're going to head downhill. And this can be quite a fast little descent, particularly through this section here. And what we're going to do is we're going to go head all the way out to the lighthouse. And we're going to loop around the lighthouse there. Okay. Now, for those of you who are actually attending Port Macquarie this year, I'll be doing a recce ride of this on the Friday, and we're going to go out and look at this particular bit. Okay, so we're going to do a loop around here. There'll be a photographer more than likely standing or sitting or somewhere about there. This is where you're going to get your profile pic taken. So, make sure you look good for that one there. Look dialed in, because there'll be some sort of camera set up there somewhere. Okay. Now we're going to head back up this road. Be mindful that in this point here, it does get quite narrow. There's like a couple of walking paths on either side, and then they've got wooden bollards, and it does narrow the road down a little bit. Still 2 lane, but it is just a bit more narrow down, and a little bit fast, particularly when you're heading towards the lighthouse. Okay. We do loop back, and then we take a left and we go down this Davis Crescent. Okay. So we go left. This is actually downhill, and then we go left again, and then again that's downhill. So this can be a bit of a quick descent as well. So be mindful, particularly if it's a bit damp. Okay. All right. So we go all the way to Lighthouse, loop back, left down Davis, and then left onto Matthew Flinders. All right. And then we follow Matthew Flinders out. Okay. Relatively flat through here, a little bit of a climb up to the roundabout. And then we get into a little bit more undulations. We head out past the Port Macquarie Golf Club. There will be an aid station right there. They're always there. There are always camels on the other side as well for a point of interest. You might get a waft of them as you ride past. All right, but there will be an aid station there. And then it starts to flatten out. So there's still some undulations. It's not a flat course. However, it does sort of start to flatten out along Ocean Drive. Depending on where the wind comes from, this can be either really good or can be quite painful. Okay, so just be mindful of that. If there is wind sort of coming from the southeast-ish and blowing back up this way, then when you're heading out on either lap 1 or lap 2, it can be a bit painful. Vice versa, if it's coming from sort of the northeast, then that'd be southwest from this end, northeast from up here. Okay. Then what happens is we ride all the way out to Lake Cat-Eye. Okay. We come into town. There'll be usually a few people hanging around down there, say hello, cheering you on. And there'll be a loop sort of in town. Okay. I'm not sure if they've actually shown it on there. What used to be sort of, you went into a like a little park, like a beachside park, and you just sort of use that and loop around. It doesn't actually look like they've shown that on there or not. It could possibly be there. Just looks a bit, yeah, there we go. See how it sort of splits there. Okay. I'm pretty sure you merge off to the left, go through a little car park, and then you loop back, but that might have changed. All right, and then we head back, and then we just repeat the process. Okay, all the way back in. So the undulations that were downhills are now uphills, and uphills are now downhills. Coming all the way back in, and we take a right at this roundabout. Now we don't go back out to the lighthouse. So if this is your first time doing Port Macquarie, or your first time doing Port Macquarie in general, whether it's a 70.3 or it's just your first time visiting, you may have heard of Matthew Flinders Drive. Okay. Or Matthew Flinders Hill. And Matthew Flinders starts pretty much at that little corner there, more so where that little walking track is. And it's this section here. Okay. It is steep. It will catch some people out. Carry as much speed as you can into it and use it. Don't be afraid to use the granny gear on the front of the small chainring. There's nothing wrong with that. They do put carpet down along the side there as well. So, just to help, if you can't get up it, then you've got the carpet there to assist you. Generally speaking, there is always a great crowd, particularly at the top of Matthew Flinders. Some of the local tri clubs get out and they're really, really supportive. I think I've been there 3 times now, and every single time there's been an Elvis singing songs and karaoke and trying to get you to sing along as you come along. Be aware though, the adrenaline might be pumping and you might want to show off a little bit. When you get to the top of Matthew Flinders, you aren't done with your climbing. It's still a climb all the way back out through sort of the forest here out to Pacific Drive. It's just that the steepest bit is this section here, and then you turn left and you still keep going up. Okay. It's a fantastic little hill to ride up. If you haven't already started practicing, start finding something short and sharp that you can get up and down. You probably want something about 200 meters long, somewhere in the vicinity of 8 to 10% gradient would be great to practice on. And you'll do this twice. Okay. So the first lap, you might feel fantastic going up there. Remembering, of course, you've got all these undulations all through town until we get all the way back in. All right. And then this is a downhill and that flattens out and we loop around. and then you're back out again for lap 2. Okay, that's the 70.3 bike course. Now, when you do come back for lap 2, you will merge left. So stay right when you're coming through here. You'll stay right to continue second lap. And then for lap, when you finish lap 2 and you're coming in to start your run, you're going to merge left and just straight back into transition. It's a relatively short transition from bike exit to where your rack will be. It's literally just in this park here somewhere. Okay. Now, where it differs for the full distance Ironman, if I go to the right one, is that the majority of the full distance is done out the other side of town. Now, the full distance will do all of the 70.3 loop, but they only do it once, and it's at the end of their course. Okay. So the full distance will head out, instead of heading out through town this way, they will head the other way. I believe that they put a little turnaround just in here. I think it might even be there. So 70.3 is you just go all the way through. Full distance, you'll get to this point, you'll hang a U-turn, and then you'll head out. Okay. You head out through Hastings River Drive, out through this is sort of the industrial area. That's where the car salesmen are. It's where your super cheaps and your Bunnings and I'm not sure if Bunnings is out there, but it's that sort of stuff. Okay, sort of the industrial area. Okay, the road is not in the best condition out there. At least it wasn't 2 years ago. It was sort of potholes filled with that had been refilled and filled again and filled again, so it was quite lumpy. It's not as bad for the 70.3, but my recommendation for all of the bike is just chuck an elastic band over your nutrition because they're not super smooth roads. Okay. And you just don't want to lose your nutrition early on. And this section here in particular is really early, and you don't want to lose your nutrition that early on. And I know when I last did it, there was plenty of bottles all along here from people who hadn't done it. I had a couple of elastic bands, never had any issues. So just make sure you're aware of that. All right, so you head out through Hastings River Drive. You're going to head out to Winery Drive. You're going to do a left. This is a nice new fast little section in here, nice and flat. From memory, so I think it's about there. Just having a look, just before it starts getting a bit lumpy again on the profile. Nice and flat. From what I remember, it was pretty new tarmac a couple of years ago. You literally turn around at the winery, and then we head out Telegraph Point Road. Okay. Nutrition point will be out here. And then we're going to keep going out to get to Pembroke Road. So you're going to take a left at Pembroke, and you're coming out this way. And you're out in the forest, out on Pembroke Road. You're going to spend a lot of time on Pembroke Road, getting used to that. Okay. There is a turnaround point from what I vaguely remember. It's about here. From what I remember, that's your turnaround point just before you cross the freeway. And you're going to do a couple of laps out here. Okay, so you're going to head all the way out. You're going to do a couple of laps of this section out here. This is undulating down to the round to your turnaround point, which is all the way down the bottom here. Usually a bit of a crowd down there. Large chip sort of asphalt, so be mindful of your tire pressures. Again, make sure you've got nutrition stored and secured. There's an aid station just here. Okay. I really enjoy this course because it's reminiscent of what I ride in and around Ballarat. It's undulating. It actually reminds me a little bit of where I originate from in Northeast Victoria as well, in terms of just the forest and the types of hills and that as well. So I really enjoyed it. If you're someone who's a bit of a flat track specialist, you're going to know about it. Your quads are going to tell you. So this is really well suited to people who are good being able to utilize hills. So it's not one for the climbers. It's not like it's a mountainous course, but the undulations take advantage of those downhills to then power through those uphills. Okay, they're not massive climbs, but they're regular. Okay. I I believe it's down at this section here. There is a tight little turn. Pretty sure that's it there. There's a tight little turn onto a fairly narrow bridge. Just having a quick look. I'm pretty sure that's it there. So you've just got to be mindful of that. They do have marshals out and sort of slowing you down. I think it's actually from memory a no overtake section. It's very, very short though. So the amount of space that you have to not overtake is 100 meters, if that. Okay, just over the narrow bridge. Okay. So you're going to go out, you're going to do a couple of laps. I'll just zoom out again. You're going to do a couple of laps of essentially this section here. And then you will return back into town. So you only ever only ever ride this bit here once. And that's on your way out. You've come out of the water, you've ridden out here, you're going to do this little bit, then you're going to go out and do your multiple laps. And when you come back, you don't go back down here. You're going to take a left and head back into town. Okay. When you get back into town, you're then going to continue out and do the full distance. The 70.3 loop. All right. You only do it once. Okay. So you head all the way out to the lighthouse, all the way out to Lake Cat Eye, and then you come back in. So you only do that once. Once you come back in, then you're going to go into transition again, and you enter transition exactly the same way as the 70.3 is. Okay. That is the bike for both of them. All right. Now, the run, very, very simple. 4 laps for the full, 2 laps for the half, and you're on the same course. It's as easy as that. This is actually a run course that I haven't done, in that I believe it was last year. Might have even been, it must have been last year, because in 2023 it was still a different course. They changed it for last year, and where they've changed it is actually this section here. Sorry, try and zoom in, where you run up this little inlet here. So the path got upgraded, and as a result, we now run up here, which I think is a good thing, because what it's done is it has reduced the amount of time you spend out here on Settlement Point Road. So Settlement Point Road used to run pretty much to about there, and they've reduced it right back. Okay. So pretty much get to the end of the housing bits, there'll be a turnaround there. All right, so we're going to start here at transition. We go out and we turn left from memory. All right. Turn left, follow the road out over the bridge that you actually, if you were doing the full distance, that's the bridge you swam under. Sorry, wrong one. This one up here. All right, for 70.3, as you turned around about here. All right, so you run all the way out. So it's a concrete footpath, relatively flat, a couple of little ups and downs, but nothing too major. It's a fairly flat run out that section. You'll get onto the road out this point here. There is also the footpath as well. So I think you run out on the footpath and back on the road, or could be the other way around. No, out on the footpath, back on the road by the looks of it there. All right. And then you're going to come back into town, around past transition. There's a bit of a park there. From memory, there will usually be some, not club road, but I think that's where special needs will be if you need it. They'll tend to put it about here. Now we run up this section here. I believe that's on the way back. I'll have to have a bit of a look at that. All right. And then we're just basically following the coast around, or following the river around, okay? The crowd will start to pick up around over here, obviously, through there, because that's where the finish line area is. Actually, they've actually reversed that there by the looks of it. There's an aid station in here in the car park there as well. And then what will happen is once you get past the finish line area, you will hang a right, and this is an uphill climb here. Okay. So, okay to there, you come through behind the caravan park, and then this is a sharp little uphill, and then you hang a left, and it's again a bit of a grind up to the top up here. Okay. You'll run through the road here. There's usually club tents set up along here. And this is a downhill. Downhill in and around, you'll loop around back to an aid station there. Okay, and it flattens out again. Right. Come through past the skate park. This is the big caravan park that a lot of athletes will be staying in. That's the iconic rock wall that you see all the photos of Port Macquarie. It was all along there, nice and flat. Music will be going. You'll be able to hear Pete Murray at transition. Be able to hear the party that's kicking on. And you're going to come past the finish line area and you head out for laps 2 if you're a 70.3er, and then 3 and 4 if you're a full distance. When you finish, when you're coming back on your either your second or your fourth lap, you're going to come back in, and then instead of heading past the entry into the finish line shoot, you're going to continue up, right? So instead of heading past, you're actually going to hang a right, and you'll come straight down the red carpet and finish. Okay. It's a fantastic finish. They've always done a little ramp, like you run up to this finish line. So, you run along the red carpet and there's just a little kick at the end, assuming that will be there again this year. And then usually what they do is set up in here is the whole recovery area in this section here. And I think I'm just trying to work out what that satellite imaging is there, but that's sort of the mall. So they'll tend to sort of set it all up there. So if you're going to be organising to meet family, if they're doing it the same way that I remember, you'll sort of come through, you've got your finish line, first aid, your recovery area, and then you sort of come out onto Clarence Street, and that's usually the spot to meet. I recommend if it's your first time, tell your family and friends, meet them 30 minutes after you've finished, so that you can actually enjoy the finish line area. You've paid all that money to enter, you may as well enjoy all the free stuff that they give you in there, all the pasta and pizza and ice cream with Milo, which is my favorite. All right. I don't think they have a finish line area. I'll just have a quick look. Venue map might be on that one. So the beach house, you finish right in front of the beach house. They've got the VIP area there. And so there's the expo there. They've actually moved it again. They have actually changed it. So you come through and you're pretty much straight out street gear, and you probably push out into the park over on the left-hand side here. Last time I did it, you sort of moved down this way. So they've adjusted it again. That in itself is the 70.3 and the full distance one. It's a fantastic race. I'm really looking forward to getting up there. It's been a couple of years. And I'm actually looking forward to doing a 70.3 with a full distance Ironman. I've never actually done that before. I've always raced the full when there's been one available. But it's a good chance to sort of hang around and watch some of the people doing the full that I know, and have a bit of a hit out myself. So any questions, please shoot them through. For my athletes, just send me a message if you're unsure of anything. If you happen to have stumbled across this on YouTube, you can find us on the socials, GPC Ballarat, so GPC_Ballarat. We'll find us on Instagram. You can find us on Facebook as well, or you can just go to our website, gpcsquad.com.au, and then under the Ballarat section, that's me. And if you're interested in sort of getting involved, or if this is one that you want some help with, by all means get in touch for next year. Probably a bit late now, given that this is only a month out from this year's one. Everyone's sort of doing their training, but if this is a goal event for you at some point in the future, I'm more than happy to help you with it. It's a fantastic event, and one that I'm really enjoying racing and also attending. It's just a wonderful spot. There is some fantastic coffees spots around town, some really good food. I'm not going to give them away here because I don't want people taking my spot, but if you want to know where they are, send me a message and I'm happy to privately tell you. So until I do the next one, guys, I'll say see you later. And if you are racing this one this year in 2025, good luck. Hopefully you'll see me out on course, or I might see you out on course. But have a great time, and we'll chat to you on the next one. Cheers.